How are y'all doing?
Fine, thank
Good
you.
afternoon.
All of you. Everybody have a good lunch?
Yes.
Okay, well, good, because it's time for us to get started.
Okay.
I put a little note over there, in the chat for all of you. Basically, just hang in there just for a little while longer. It's going to be margarita. We don't have far to go. Okay. And then it's the weekend. Yay.
Yay.
Okay. So some of you sent in some things. And well, Bernice, Rebecca, you're here. I'm waiting for June to get here. But let's kind of start going through them real quick here. And just taking a look and seeing what we've got. Okay. And if people come in later, then then we'll backtrack if we need to. Okay. Like for example, I don't see Bernice here yet, so we'll skip over her for a moment. Okay, but we'll come back. Okay, no fear. Bob, you're here. Okay. So this is this the corrected version? No. Okay. Yeah, I think this is the original version you sent in. Right? Bob, you're muted. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. There you go. How about that?
That's
Okay. Yeah. First version.
okay. Yeah, this is the first version. Okay, so basically you're focused in on about 1/2 of a front view of the face. Okay, and okay, so you're getting the corner of the eye socket sunk back there, pretty nicely, and the tip of the nose moving forward pretty well. You may not really see it real clearly, but look for it. There may be just a slight change in value right in here to define sort of the nostril away from the front plane of the face. But you may see that, you may not, depending on the photography and the lighting. But then you went back in and you, I guess, based on what we talked about this morning,
Right.
did a little modification. Okay.
Just some. Yep.
Yeah. And so, you just lightened this area under here, and it's now not as pronounced, and the eye looks rounder, doesn't it?
Yep.
See? Funny how that works, just a tricky little thing, See, and now, like before, let's go back to the first one. See, the eye looked flatter, right?
Yep.
And the reason for that was that the value in this area was as strong as up here, right? And that can't be, on a rounded form. Just like on an arm, you can't have two equal outlines, right, on the edge of an arm because the arm is round. So light is going to react on it differently from one side to the other because of the direction of the light. Well, same thing with the eye. And so that little subtle change, see, help round it out. Just that little bit, okay? So, okay.
Thank you for that help there this morning. Appreciate that.
Yeah, not a problem. So that worked out pretty well,
So Charles, you can't have eyelashes. You should.
I didn't say you can't have eyelashes, but they can't be the same value
Oh, okay.
as like the top lid of the eye, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now, depending on, lighting situations change, I mean, that might be a very different situation, say, if she was lit from underneath, right?
Right.
Then that bottom eyelid might be pretty dark in there, right?
Right.
And then right along here, you might get like a really strong highlight underneath the eye if it's coming from the bottom up. Most cases, though, the light is above, or coming down. It's normal. Okay. Not that there's any real normal out there, but that's the normal daylight situation that we deal with. Okay. Rebecca, pick me. Rebecca did a fox. Okay. All
I
right.
like that fox.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's a cute fox.
I was working from,
Mhm.
I was working from a picture. I don't know who you are.
I did. I got it. It's right here.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So that's the photo that she was using. Okay. Now it's hard for me to see really kind of what's going on right here. Okay.
Where?
Like right here where the leg and the shoulder are because
Oh,
of
yes.
the light on it. But I was looking at your drawing. Okay. And the thing that kind of bothers me about it, okay? I mean, you know, you've got sort of the shape of the head and things like that pretty well. You know, your proportions with your ears and eyes and the length, because foxes have very long, elongated faces. But right here in the shoulder, it's like he doesn't have one.
Yeah, if you look back at the picture,
He does have one.
he has one, and I haven't finished with that part there where his shoulder is, but it appears in the picture that I'm holding in my hand that it's darker. So is that a way to distinguish it?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
It does in fact get darker right in here because the
Right.
light's coming from up above and behind him slightly, right?
Right.
And so this area, which is the shoulder blade, right, is catching a lot of highlight. And then down below the shoulder blade is catching a lot of shadow back down to where it meets the neck, right?
Right.
So here's what I did, okay? So you know, it's the kind of guy that I am if I can find it. I put them in there somewhere. Where did they go? Rebecca.
That, it's almost at the very bottom. There it is. I thought that was it anyway.
Okay, where did it go? Oh, here it is,
It's
right
at
here.
the top now.
No, it's right here. Okay,
Oh, okay.
so you see, you know, you've got this round cylinder
Right.
of a neck, right? And it's got to meet those two shoulder blades
Right.
somehow, right? And then that shoulder blade kind of wraps up and it attaches to like the elbow,
I see that.
and then the legs come forward.
Right. I see that.
So you got to look for those, what we call overlapping shapes, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
this shape of the shoulder blade has got to come forward, right? In
Right.
front of, you know, the leg moving downward, right? The neck has got to come in front of the shoulder blade,
Right.
see, because it's closer to us, right?
Right.
And then the ears have to come in front of the neck. And then
Right.
the brow ridge has to come in front of the ears, you know, and,
Right. Right.
you know, the elbow bone is connected to the, you know, arm bone and yada, right on. Okay. So look for those overlapping shapes.
Yes. Thank you. That will help a lot, because it looks to me like I've got one long tube of a body
Right.
with those overlapping shapes distinguished from one another. So that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. But and see, that's the thing. It's like you need to look for the anatomy in there. You know,
Yeah.
try to understand what's going on there. And it's really difficult, you know, when you're doing animals, particularly animals with like a lot of fur. Okay. If the hair is very short, like a seal or something like that, it's pretty, or an otter, it's pretty easy to see. But, you know, on a fox or certain types of dogs or cats or things like that that have longer hair, sometimes a lot of that anatomy gets lost. You know?
Yeah, it's hidden underneath all that big layer of fur.
Right.
But what did you think of my attempt to try to make the fur look variegated?
I thought you did a pretty good job at that, you know?
Okay. And I think that your hint about starting with a lighter color and then putting the darker over it was very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, with colored pencil, because it's again, colored pencil is a lot like watercolor. You start with your lights, build toward your darks.
And my other question about that is, what hints can you give me about painting the surface of the water to make it look realistic?
Okay, but you're still doing colored pencil, right?
Oh yeah, all of it's colored pencil, except for the white, which is whiteout.
Okay.
Because the colored pencil doesn't deposit enough white on the paper.
Yeah. And
This is,
that,
and this is newsprint.
yeah, and see that's kind of the issue, is that it's newsprint,
Right.
which, you know, has
It's hard to draw on newsprint.
pardon?
It's hard to draw on newsprint with the hard lead of
It
the
is.
pencil.
It is, because the newsprint is kind of slick. It's really good with charcoal and like really soft media, but if you get like Carbothello pencils or things like that, and you're trying to draw on newsprint, it's like the surface is too tight and too closed, and it's not toothy enough to really, you know, to leave enough of the material down on there. Colored pencils are kind of like that too. So you would be better off getting a better piece of paper
Okay.
and doing it on better paper.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. My guess is, all right, if I had to make a guess, I would say you're probably going to put, at least 6 to 8 hours into this.
At least, yes.
At least, okay, and maybe more like 20 by the time you do the water and everything else, because something like that is kind of complicated and it takes time. So, getting a better piece of paper that will let the color pencil build up and has enough tooth so that you can get enough color down there would work better for you, and you'll find it less frustrating, and you'll come out with a better end result.
We can't see it, but the poor little eye, his poor little eye has been erased a million times and is beginning to wear off the paper.
Right.
And I did another thing that you suggested I do, which was really fun. I turned it upside down.
Upside down.
So,
Good. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that was very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, it will help you see the proportions and things, and you forget what it is, so you're just looking at those shapes and distances and things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you get a real good picture of him in the water.
Mhm.
When you turn it upside down, his face jumps out at you in the water.
Yeah, so you see the reflection of it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So kind of enough of that. Okay. And then since we're down here anyway, we were looking at, you did this eye, and you did this on black paper,
Yeah.
which is fine. Okay.
Yeah,
But-
you were encouraging me to do a second try at an eye.
Mhm.
And I must admit, I did not take very much time with this at all. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, I would still like you to take more time with it.
Of course.
Because here's the thing, what you did is you treated this like you were drawing with a dark medium. You just were doing it on a dark piece of paper with a light medium. And that's not going to get you where you need to go. What you really need to do is you need to look at the values. Where are the lights? And that's where you build up the light. You let the dark of the paper be the dark. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, and I'm not quite on your wavelength yet, but I think it's beginning to come. So if I attempt this again,
So like, for example, let's go to your reference, okay?
okay.
And this is good because, this is a learning opportunity for everybody, Okay, so if I were going to draw this, okay?
Chalk on a black piece of paper.
Yeah, and I had like a white Prismacolor pencil and a black piece of paper or a piece of, white pastel or chalk or something. And I wanted to draw this. My question would be, okay, so how can I get the effect of what I'm seeing? And I know I've got a dark piece of paper. And so my question would be, so what would remain as dark as the paper?
Oh, now I understand. What remains as dark as the paper? I'm writing that down.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So like areas in the eyebrow would
Right.
remain that dark. The fold up here, at the top of the eye would probably be
Yes.
close to that. Certainly the outline of, the iris,
Yeah.
and the pupil, and then, the eyelashes up here on the top, and maybe some of the eyelashes on the bottom. Those would be the things that would remain dark. Everything else is going to have to be light.
Okay.
Okay. And so the issue is, okay, if I've got a dark piece of paper, how do I get different values, right? Because I don't want to make everything white, right? Which
Mhm.
means that I have to be very sensitive with the amount of pressure that I put down on that piece of pastel or chalk or whatever I'm using.
Right.
And I might even have to use like a white charcoal pencil or something like that that's sharpened to a point so that I can get finer lines and edges. Sorry. And build up my lights, letting my darks stay dark, right?
You know what? I don't think I'm going to do very many of these for a while because I'm still at the novice stage and it confuses me.
Okay.
I have to get down the basics of the other stuff before I attempt to do something like this again.
Okay, but hang on now. Don't go running out of the house that's burnt. Yeah. See, the thing is, you got to find a water hose, right? And what I mean by you need to find a water hose is you need to figure out, you need to kind of get your brain to kind of thinking about what am I seeing? What are the values that I'm trying to create? Okay. Now, you can easily do this, okay? But you might have to work on a little bigger piece of paper.
Okay.
Or, so that, because the tool that you have may not have a fine tip on it, right?
No, it's just a old piece of chalk.
Right. Okay. So, that being said, working at a larger scale would be easier, so you could build up some hatching, with your white chalk to make like the really light areas. Like really the lightest areas on this, the really light areas is kind of the white of the eye, but it's really not as light as you might think it is. Really, this right here on the eyelid is lighter than the white of the eye. Okay. This area right here, on the brow, just below the eyebrow, again, is at least as light. Well, maybe not. Okay, it's not quite as light as this. All right. Yeah, so it's like right here and right here. That's kind of the lightest, other than just some little specks in the
Mhm.
eye. Everything else is kind of a gray tone or darker. Okay. And, there's as many grays as you want to make, right? You could have 4 grays or 10 grays or 100 grays. Again, it's how much chalk you end up putting down there and how much of the black is showing through. Okay. So you might have to experiment a little bit with how you put it down. Do you put it down in lines, or do you put it down in just little dots, right? Or do you put it down like, in big solid areas and then rub it back or lift it out a little bit so that the paper shows through? You need to experiment with that a little bit and see what works best
Okay.
for you
All right.
so that you can create, again, different values, because that's what it's all about. Okay.
Okay. I'm writing all that down and will do.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want you to run screaming yet. 'Cause, I think there's some valuable lessons there for you. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let's go up here. Okay. Because you tried. Yeah.
Yeah.
This came out minuscule for some reason.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll
So you tried to draw Heidi. Okay.
right.
And is Heidi your granddaughter, or who
She
is?
is, yes.
Okay.
She's our oldest here in town. We have others that are older, but they're out of town.
Okay. All right. So same thing. Okay. What I want you to do is, you know, and I don't want you to go back and redraw everything, but I want you to look at this really carefully and look at the reference. Okay. Yeah, this is Jackie. Okay. You know, look at the reference really carefully, look at the proportions.
Right.
And, you know, then we're talking about how to get, you know, things to actually sit like on the form of
Okay.
the face.
Yeah.
And you haven't quite got that going on yet, you know, with Heidi in this drawing, right? Because, you know, mainly, you know, you kind of left out the bridge of the nose and the eye sockets, you know, around the eyes.
Right.
And so there's a value there, right? That you have to put in so that,
Right. I gave you a minimalistic attempt
Mhm.
at the face because I was very concerned at the flatness
Mhm.
and wanted tips on how to make it look rounder.
Yeah.
Because it's a flat surface to begin with because you're looking straight on as a little kid.
Yeah, but it's not.
No, it's not. She's got the rounded and down there in her cheeks around her face.
Yeah.
That's much darker. And then I didn't even catch the bridge of her nose yet. That's very good.
Right. Well, you know, what you've got going on there is you've got planes moving forward, like from below her eye to, you know, the point of her cheek. And then after that point, those planes begin to move back away from you down toward the lower part of her face, which is why if you look at your reference, really from the bottom of her nose down to her chin, it's slightly darker,
Right.
just slightly,
Right.
than from the nose up to the bottom of the eyes. Because,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
the planes are moving in two different directions.
I did try to put a little bit of darkening there, and I'll continue to work on that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see in the photo.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Poor photos.
yeah, the other thing is find some way of taking your drawings and putting them up maybe on a wall or something and then photographing them rather than trying to shoot down on a table that's
Okay.
flat, because A, you're getting them really distorted, and B, you got all kind of shadows all over everything. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
hard.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's really hard to see what you drew in some.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I will do that.
All right. So like, okay. So I'll show you this. Okay. We can talk about it. And the question is, you know, it's like, okay, you're trying to draw a head, whether you're trying to draw it from the side, 3/4, front, whatever. And the first thing you got to address, and this is everybody, okay, is you have to address the underlying structure and form. Because until you get the underlying structure and form, there's no point in trying to put features on it, okay? Because you don't know where to put them or how big to make them, okay? So when I say the underlying structure or form, like in the example of like this head, and I'll show you, I'll try to show you. Okay, where did that go? No, that's not it. Oh, that's a June. That's not a Rebecca. Okay, where did she go? I saw her. Aha, here she is. Okay. So like this girl, okay? And this is June's drawing. Okay, so again, you know, the eyes don't seem to really, well, they sit on the head, but they're kind of flat, right? Because this side of the head doesn't move backward in the drawing, right? In fact, this eye actually comes forward. And that's what kind of flattens the whole face out, right?
Hmm.
So to resolve that, see, rather than just putting, you know, drawing the features, you have to draw the underlying form, right? So you find the structure of the head. See, the side plane of the head, the front plane of the head, then you break it into where the eye sockets are, the orbit of the mouth, the ball that sits on. You find those things and, kind of the general shape and size and angle of the nose and the ear if you see it or whatever. But you find where those things are first and those planes and how they change. Which ones are in light, which ones are in shadow, okay? Once you have that, see, then you can start worrying about the shape of things like, you've got the orbit of the mouth and how are you going to get the lips to wrap around it, right? And what are the angles? The same thing with the eye. What is the actual shape of the eye? Where is the eye highest, in height and lowest? So where is it widest at? And is the eye straight or is there an angle either up or down? See? And you got to look at those things. And then once you've kind of figured out where they are, then you can render them. And you notice how that eye kind of sits into that socket behind the bridge of the nose. See? And how that mouth wraps around that surface. See? And again, it's you can only, as Leonardo da Vinci would say, you can only paint what you know or draw what you know, right? So you have to really look. You have to look and you got to make good observations, and really look at those angles and things, before you start really trying to develop the features. The problem with most people trying to draw a face is they want to start with the eyes, the eyelashes, and that's a recipe for disaster because then the rest of the time you're trying to figure out where is like the nostril in relationship to that and what are the proportions and sizes. It's really easy to get that off rather than looking at the big structure, getting all those things in place and then putting your features on top and knowing that they're in the right place, and sitting on that form, okay? Let's see. Let's see. Do we have anything from Jackie? Because Jackie's got to go at 3. Let's take a look here real quick. Yes. We got a drawing. Okay, Jackie, you here? Jackie. She was here.
Mm.
She didn't leave already, did she? No, it's only
He
2:29.
may have a real appointment, not a virtual appointment. You have
Uh-huh.
to go to.
Yeah. Well, there's June. Okay, Linda. Okay, where's Jackie? She was around.
She's not on the list.
He said that he have appointment. 3 o'clock.
Yeah, at 3:00. Okay, well maybe she had to leave already. Okay, all right. So let's see. We've already picked on Bob. We picked on Rebecca a little bit. Let's talk. Is Jean here?
Yep, I'm here.
There we go. So Jean did these flowers, and these are watercolor, right? Or
Yes.
it's acrylic.
No, it's watercolor, but the white is acrylic.
Is it? Okay.
But the rest of it's watercolor.
Yeah.
I haven't quite finished it yet. I wanted to put a little more of the yellow or the orange behind the purple flowers to pull them forward more. But I hadn't sent you anything in a long time. I'm working on stuff, but I just haven't gotten far enough along.
Yeah. So my thought is this, okay. I agree with you, yellow is a good color. The problem that you're going to have is that this is watercolor. You've already got something dark down there. How are you going to get yellow back behind there?
Very simply, I use it thicker with less water. It goes on like an acrylic. It'll cover it.
Yeah, you could. All right. But then my next question is, you're going to have to mix it down in some way so that to lower the intensity of it. Okay, because you can have a yellow back there, but if that yellow is very intense, then you're going to flatten out all of your flowers across here.
Well, I was going to try and do it. There is a little bit of yellow to the left
Uh-huh. Yeah.
of one of those purple flowers, and it was going to be somewhere in that range is what I was going to try and get.
Yeah, as long as it's kind of like not like a bright yellow, but kind of like a slight
Right.
ochre or Naples yellow or something like that,
Right.
you'd probably be okay. Like for example, like if
When I
you,
go through doing it, it may be too bright, you know, and it's okay.
Yeah. okay, you see the cursor, Gene? It's right over here to the right side of the painting, and there's a little light spot of kind of yellow.
Yes, yes, I see that.
Yeah, if it were kind of about right there,
Oh,
you'd
okay,
be fine.
maybe
okay.
better, yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Mhm.
but no brighter than that.
I
Okay.
was also thinking of maybe just in a few spots where it's the darkest, of just taking and using a fine line, just going just the outside part of a couple of them to pull them out, to pull it out further. I hadn't made up my mind yet. It's the reason I hadn't done it.
Mm-hmm. Why would you use an outline on the darks?
Well, it's like there's white in the center of those flowers.
Mhm.
And it could be a yellow in the center as well as a yellow. I just know that because of the colors, it would look better, I think, with the yellow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I have no problem with what you were talking about, putting the yellow along here to bring these out.
Right.
But now you were talking about in the background these strong darks, and were you talking about putting some kind of outline around those?
Around the top, for instance, the top part on the left-hand side of the purple. See, there is a little bit of yellow behind that.
Yeah,
right in there.
right here. Mhm.
That's what I was thinking about doing on this other side, but I could do it maybe with a finer point, less yellow instead of more in spots, so they wouldn't look the same,
Yeah.
like I'm outlining it with the strokes. But I thought it was interesting. You showed a painting with circles and dots and a busy background like that that somebody had done last week, I think. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So I thought I'd do a regular style with the busy background just to see what would happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, right now, I really like what you've got there. Now, that being said, okay, I would leave, all of this alone, except for maybe, and I wouldn't like put yellow all along here,
Yeah.
just again, just in like little spots, okay?
Right.
Because you don't want like an outline.
That's what I was afraid of doing.
Yeah. So don't do that. Don't put
Okay.
it, just a little here or a little there, but don't overdo it.
Okay.
And again, the key is just get it along with where some of these like really strong darks are, so that you got more contrast in there and it kind of
Right.
pops it forward. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of doing, but I really didn't know. I questioned myself as to color and whether to do it very lightly. I've got a little bit of light green, I think it is, to the left of the purples. It's just not quite light enough. Just below the yellow at the very top where those purples are, just above your
I mean, right
cursor.
here.
No, just below the yellow. That right in there, right there. That's a little green. I tried to pull it up, but I think it has to be more of the yellow to really pop it out.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because right now the value is too close
Right.
and the temperature is too close.
Right.
It's fairly neutral, but they're both fairly cool. So with the yellow, it would warm that up and
Yes.
make it.
That's what anyway, that was my thought, but I hadn't gotten to it yet.
What made you decide on that kind of background?
There was a flower picture when he was showing all of those brightly colored pictures from artists. I guess it was last week. It had fields and a water scene, and
Right.
there was a flower picture that had the big strokes in the background, but the flowers were done more in circles.
Mhm.
I didn't want to do exactly that. I was trying to combine, see how we're combining the normal flower painting I would do with that type of background instead of the quieter background. It was just something different.
Okay.
To me, when I look at it, I get, the flower arrangement is nice and soft, and then the background is almost disturbing. I don't look at the flowers, I look at the background.
Well, I see the background first, but the background, it might have been too busy, but when the other picture that I saw had that type of background plus these circles, I came to the conclusion it's like putting a long time ago you couldn't put polka dots with plaids, but now now it's okay. It's just a matter of changing people's way of looking at things. But
I think that your multicolored background pops out the contrast of the lighter colored flower petals in the beginning, and it makes it more interesting looking.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the background. Okay. Now, I would make a suggestion.
okay.
And since this is watercolor,
Right.
with this piece, right here where the edge of your table is, from
Yes.
there down,
Right.
I would take a big brush with a little bit of water,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd just float water over it, and I'd let those soften on the table. Again, because it's going to create a different texture from the background, and then it will probably move forward for you, and the background will sit backward.
Okay.
Okay. Because right now they kind of mush together.
Well, I was kind of half thinking of putting it up underwater and seeing what would happen to the lower half. But I was afraid it would take too much of the paint off.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't.
More
I
together.
would. Yeah, I wouldn't run water over it. What I would do is I just take a big brush, like a big mop brush, and you got to kind of do it one time and leave it alone. Okay. So
But
you got to
wash
just.
it off and what about if you put a little water on it and then took a paper towel and blotted it? Would that help it?
No, I
No.
would just.
Just
Again, I
rub
would just take a big mop brush,
it. Okay.
load it with water,
Okay.
and keep it laying flat, right?
Right.
And then I would just start at that line and I'd work my way down and just flood that whole area and then just let it set for like 5 or 10 minutes. Let the water.
No, it's not wet enough to drip. It's just wet enough to really wet the paper well. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. And what will happen is the paint that's there will just diffuse a little bit.
Okay.
You won't lose all of it, but it will just soften it
Right.
so that, again, it makes a contrast between your background
Yeah.
and your table. Okay. Now, I would say you could do it to the top and then leave the table with the sharper edges. You could do that too, but you've already got the flowers with such soft edges and things that if you did it to the background up there, it would all just kind of fall together.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm thinking do it to the table, and that way you break it up.
Even in last, I had the background solid, but it bothered me that that it wasn't sitting on anything. It was like it was just floating.
Mhm.
And so that's when I put the darker thing to make an edge of a table.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, that works. It anchors it. It feels like it's sitting on something.
Yeah.
Okay. But then, you kind of lose the table because it's
Right.
such a similar color and pattern as the background. So again, they can be similar, but if you just really soften that front part of it, then it will look like, okay, it's a table or a tablecloth or it's a wooden table or something that's reflecting the background.
Right. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Very good. I'll try it. I'll send you a picture when I get through.
Okay. All right. So let's pick on June for a little while. She's here. I see her. Okay. So June,
Yes.
we talked about your girl here. Oh, and Rebecca had a question to Eugene. Are these lilacs or hydrangeas? It looks like a kind of a combination, right?
It's a combination, but it started out to be phyllox, but I didn't like it, so I increased the flowers in it. So
That's
it's
interesting.
everything changes.
Yeah. Use that artistic license there. So, okay. All right. So June, were you
Yes.
around? were you around when we talked about your girl here?
Okay. Thank you.
No, my question was, did you hear what I had to say about her earlier?
Yes, I did it.
Oh, yes, I know you did it, but okay. Did you hear me talking about her earlier in this class?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Okay, so we already know, okay, what goes.
Yeah, you said there's four steps, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But to kind of get this to work a little bit better, see, notice that the value of the skin tone over here is darker than what's on this side of the face, right? See how this
Yes.
is darker? And
Yeah.
see, that would help push that back, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
this to come forward, right? Because right now, you know, with the way you've drawn the eye and the values, it's kind of flat.
Yeah, yeah.
See, this almost seems to be coming toward you, right? And we
Mhm.
want to get it to sit back. So there's nothing in this eye that's going to be as light as anything over here, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's got to just kind of tone it back a little bit, okay?
Yes.
You know, un poquito, okay? All right, then you've got this young lady right here, and you kind of, you know, you got, again, kind of where that eye is and all. It's like you've shown too much eye. There isn't that much eye showing there. There's just a little bit. It's just a little sliver, okay? And that
Okay, yeah, yeah.
that eye is not nearly that big. Again, it's just a little sliver. And you've tried to draw half the eye over there, which
Yes.
again is taking her face, right? And it's doing this. It's kind of turning it toward us, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I got it. Yes.
Yeah, and we need to push it back, not forward, okay? All right.
Thanks.
It's interesting. Now, did this come out of a Chinese paper?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because
I cut the piece of this picture. Yes.
yeah, but I see the Chinese characters there, and it says in English, it says Getty Images, so yeah, it's a stock photo.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we got Mr. Giorgio Armani. This is not Giorgio, obviously, it's just a model. But, you know, okay. And it's kind of the same thing, see? Again, this has got to get, overall, it's got to be a little bit darker so that it moves back. And
Okay.
yeah, and you see, it's the value, right? How dark this area is going to be against how light the background is that will kind of define the edge of the face. You don't need to put a line along there. It just has to change value, see?
Okay, got it. Yeah.
See, because if you squint your eye down, really, like from the edge here, the shadow comes almost right to the middle of the forehead, right? And from there over, it's all fairly dark, right? From the line of the nose over to the cheekbone, it's all fairly dark. You've got a little bit of reflected light, but it's not nearly as light as what you've got there. See,
yes.
So spend more time, squint your eye down, and really look at how light and dark those are, okay? And
Okay.
if you do that, you'll start getting this to turn, right? And then that eye and things will sit back for you, okay?
Yeah, got it.
All right.
Thank you.
And then let's take a look at this, okay? When I first saw this, I said, wow, I didn't know that June spent that much time drinking, right? It looks like the house is sinking or something, right? But then the more I looked at it, I kind of figured out what was going on, okay? And I'm thinking that what's going on is something more like this, right? Where you're looking down.
Yeah, looking down, yes.
Yeah, into kind of like, it looks like a courtyard or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got tables down below, you got a little bar, you know? So yeah, I sketched this out during lunch. And then the tree, see, the tree can be smaller at the base because it's further away, and it gets bigger as it comes towards you up here, because this is really closer to you than any of this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But you need to really look at and figure out the perspective, right? Is this a 1 point or a 2 point perspective? And in this particular case, which you've taken on, is really what we call a 3 point perspective. Okay. And so you really got to kind of look at how things are kind of either getting bigger as they get closer to you or diminishing as they get further away from you. Right?
Charles, would you name the 3 different perspectives, please?
Well, yeah, you've got a vanishing point going off over here to our right, which all of this stuff is running off to, right? And see, our eye level is way up here at the top of the page.
So that's 1.
Yeah, so that's 1. And then, of course, you got the other point that's just going off way over here to the left, right? Everything's going over it.
Yes.
And then, because we're way up above it looking down, you've
Okay.
got the one that's running off to a vanishing point way down below us.
Okay.
And that's 3 points.
So left, right, and bottom.
Well, yeah, way
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, very seldom, where you really use stuff like that, people doing architectural drawings are really about the only ones that, doing big buildings and stuff, are the only ones that really deal with that much. 2 point perspective, a 1 point or a 2 point is adequate for like 99% of the things that we'll do. Okay. But, it's good to understand the whole concept of 3 point perspective, because, if we had all of these vertical lines running straight up and down the page, then it wouldn't look right,
Right.
because it would be as white at the bottom as it is at the top. And that can't be, because even though this is the same length as this line up here on the building, this is much closer to us and this is much further away. So this is going to look smaller and this is going to look larger as it moves toward us. Okay. Same thing with your same thing with your umbrellas, and stuff. They've got a kind of, they're a little bigger at the top, a little smaller at the bottom, because of the distortion. So let's see, what else do we have here? Yes, we have your objects. Okay. I see your electric eraser. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And then you've got your, pot, your flowers or your plant in it. Okay. And, all of this is working pretty well. And, your drawing of your electric eraser is fine. Now, I want to mention something to you about that, though. All right. And that is, and this applies to all of you, right? Being an artist, part of being an artist is making observations, seeing the world and things around you, and then kind of taking a particular viewpoint, right? And looking for the more interesting way of showing something, So now you can do a vase of flowers straight on. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? You can do a electric sharpener, kind of laying on its side this way if you want. But, those drawings, they don't get you very excited, do they? They're kind of like, okay, I'm just practicing drawing, right? And so I'm going to challenge all of you to think more about how you want to show the things that you're doing. Where am I? Can I take a more interesting viewpoint, right? That being said, okay, obviously I had nothing better to do with my lunch today, right? Let's see. Where did you go? I'm looking for you. And there's, no. Where did that go? Okay, there's, here. So there's my drawing of my electric eraser. Okay, and you see I changed the perspective on it. Okay.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of coming towards you, right? And it's a very different feeling when you see something like that versus something that's just kind of set there to the side, right? Static. See, because this kind of pulls you into the drawing, right? The same thing with your porch, your deck,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yes.
Let's see, where is that?
Up.
That's not it.
Upward.
Yeah, one more. Yeah. See, you've got some good elements in here, right?
Uh-huh.
You've got the table, you've got your potted, plants, you've got this little planting box here, you got your wind chimes and the railing and everything else, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, they're kind of either straight across, or the only thing really pulling you into the picture right now is this table right here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, this would basically be, you could treat this like a 1-point perspective. Okay. And let's go back to that. Okay. And so let's blow that up. And so if you, if you figure out where your vanishing point is, and then all of these pieces, including your planter down here, if you had a wall or something over there, can all give you a clue as to, okay, all of this is moving away from you toward the vanishing point or the horizon line, right? And it makes it feel more dimensional. Okay, does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So, whether you take the time to draw this,
Mhm.
and I would for a little while, just very lightly, kind of put in your horizon line, figure out where your vanishing points are, where things go to, right? And draw those in just real lightly so that you get a good idea as to what those angles are. And I think you'll find that your pieces, your drawings will feel a little more solid and a little more cohesive because they're all kind of working in perspective. And perspective is one of those things that, sometimes, it's hard, it's hard to figure out, but you got to really look at it and you got to figure out, okay, is it a 1-point perspective or a 2-point perspective? And whichever one it is, where are those vanishing points? Yeah. And the objects in your reference or the thing that you're looking at will tell you, because you, like the edge of this table, you can follow it back to the horizon line, right? And it's like, okay, so it's right there. And then everything else, if this is a 1-point perspective, has to work from that point. Okay.
Okay.
The side of your building, the corner of the table, anything running, basically perpendicular to, these lines, going back to the vanishing point. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And same thing here. Now, again, this is one of these things of you're up above looking down, at somebody, and you got a little fire pit and, you've got all the elements there, but somehow they don't quite feel like they're sitting all on the same surface and plane, do they? All right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, figuring out that perspective will help you, get those ellipses and things right so that everything does work and it feels like it's all sitting, in the, on the same surface, right?
Okay.
Like right now, when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking this wall and this lady in the chair, they're sinking into a fault line. There's an earthquake and she's getting ready to disappear. Because the earth is tilting. It's doing this. While the rest of it is doing something like this. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know whether this was a mid-earthquake drawing or what. But anyway, I'm I don't mean to give you a hard time, but it's just think about that and look for the the angles and the perspective and how things line up. Okay.
Okay, I got it.
All right. Let's see. Rebecca's got a flower.
Oh, yeah, I got a flower. I got a couple of flowers.
Yep. You got an amaryllis.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I will tape all of these to the wall. I'm seeing more and more what you're telling about all the shadows.
Yeah, it makes it hard to see
Yeah.
your artwork. Okay. All right, let's see. I know I had to miss somebody up here at the top. Who did I miss? There's June, Jacqueline, who isn't here right now. There's Bob. John, did you turn it? Okay, Bernice, are you here? You were. Bernice?
Yes, I'm here. I was trying to get my mute off.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So here, let me show you this real quick. All right. So Bernice sent this lovely drawing in. Okay. And I'm going to blow it up a little bit so you can really see it. Okay. Now, this looks like color pencil, right?
Yes,
Okay. And what kind of paper are you using, Bernice? What are you drawing on?
it's cardstock.
Cardstock.
It was already blue.
Okay. So it was a light blue color.
Light blue.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and it's not so dark that it really interferes with color that much. In fact, it makes it, kind of a nice mellow, kind of tones the color down a little bit, particularly like the warm colors. It just kind of cools them off a little bit, but it harmonizes everything pretty nicely. So, that's not a problem. Okay. But, here's your drawing, which, I like very much. And then here's the reference. And I like the fact that you took the time to flip. You're looking at this, but you drew him this way in reverse. Okay.
Because I thought of myself as looking that way.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. And compositionally, I think this works very nicely because, he's looking into the composition, right?
Mhm.
And in some ways, by doing this, it doesn't really make it as much about him as where he's at.
You're right.
Yeah, because he's looking at this, beautiful waterfall. It's almost like he's in Eden or something like that.
Mhm.
Uh,
By the way, his face is light because it was almost 1:30. I was trying to make sure I got it to you. So I'm going to do more on that.
okay, all right. Well, just be careful and don't over darken it. Okay, just
Okay.
be selective about where you do that. Okay.
I do have to tell you this. I said Charles was showing us his nip in the woods. So let me show him what I see when I go in the woods.
There you go. Hey, we all have different fantasies, right? So there we go. All right. But again, you've taken a piece of reference, right? And you got a little inspiration from it, and then you kind of created your own art from it. And the other piece of art that you sent along was this piece, with the waterfalls and things like that. And so I like how you've borrowed or stolen, whichever one you want. And really, stealing is okay. It's not a bad thing. Okay. But you've taken different parts of this, different ideas and things like that, and incorporated it into your own artwork, right? So guess what?
But,
You get an A.
yay!
You get an A for stealing. Good stealing. Okay. And and it's nice. You figured out kind of where everything is, and you made it your own. See, so you're not copying anything, but you're taking something that inspired you, and you're creating a piece of art from it. And that's the goal of this thing. That's why we show up here every week, because that's what we want you to do is make it your own. It's not just there are technical exercises of can I render this and can I get it to really look like a real person and things like that. But more importantly is how do you make it Bernice's, or Bob's or John's or June's or whoever. How do you make it personal? How do you make it your own? And you're well on your way on this one. Okay.
That is,
Yeah. So how big is this?
eight and a half by 11.
Okay. Yeah. So here's, I would finish this, okay, and get it, get it finished and get it to where you want it. And you've been experimenting with playing with oil paint, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, then I would get a much bigger canvas. Okay, so if this is like 8.5 by 11, then I'd probably go to like about 18 by 24, right?
18 by, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. 18 by what?
Like 24. It's a standard size canvas, but it's something in
18
that
by
range.
24. Okay.
And then I would repaint this, or I would try to paint it, or, for that matter of fact, you could just paint a light blue background, either in acrylic or oil, and then you could do color pencil on it as well. Or you could put down oil and use like color pencil or pastel over it.
Well, no, I like acrylic and oil better than colored pencil. But I knew today was a drawing day. But
Okay.
I really don't like those colored pencils at all.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you did pretty well with them. So, but yeah, if you want to do it in acrylic or you want to do it in oil, whatever media you want to do it. See, but again, use this. This is kind of, this is what you've distilled it down to. And now you can get serious about it and do a bigger piece of work, from here. And the fact is, by doing this, you have a lot of the issues already resolved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And figured out, so that you can go into doing the painting more confidently because you know where you're going with it.
Should I make the painting flowers more realistic or make them kind of like they are?
I think that's your choice.
Oh.
I mean, you don't have to, depending on how you treat the figure. I mean, if you did like a really photorealistic representation of the figure, right? Then it makes sense that you would try to keep the rest of the painting kind of about the same, In other words, you want to make it look, kind of real.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you take the approach, and you've done this on a couple of your, pieces of artwork, where it's a little more graphic and a little more simplified, well, then it's, tells the same story, but it's more of a design, and you don't have to worry about, being photographically true to painting particular types of flowers or trees or anything else. It's just the idea of a purple flower, right? Or a magenta colored tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can use your artistic license as you see fit. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Again, it's all part of, here, make it your own, just because you see particular types of flowers there, doesn't mean that you have to do that. You're an artist. You can do whatever you want, right? You can either use it or leave it out. Okay. Add or edit freely. Okay. Now I did find this.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one is mine.
Uh-huh. Yes, this is yours. And that's what I was telling you the other day. I saw this, and I actually like this better than what the instructor did.
Now to me, the trees that are on the left, they look strange. They don't look like there's something wrong with those trees. You like the light part on the trees, they don't look like branches to me.
Well, yeah. I mean, they do look like trees. Okay. And they do actually look kind of like some kind of conifer, I wouldn't say pine, though they could be like a Scotch pine or something like that. But yeah, it's like your light areas don't make a lot of sense. Okay?
Yeah.
And it's like, why would they be that light when the sun is actually behind them?
So how do I correct? Put some more dark paint on them or what?
Well, I wouldn't go as dark as this, but I would darken that down a little bit. Okay. I mean, kind of in here, you're okay, right? But, you know, this is a little bit lighter and a little bit warmer. And I would just kind of darken it all down to at least this, or maybe a bit darker than that even. Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, don't make them all just, you know, solid that dark, you know, like they're just nothing but silhouettes. Because, you know, trees, they have openings and stuff, you know, you're going to get some light coming through, you know, on places. It's just not going to be on the back side of the tree. Okay. No. Let's see, what else can we look at? Well, Jacqueline's not here, so we'll pick on her another time when she comes back. We've done June, yeah. Okay. So we've got all these covered. We've been skipping around today. We got Rebecca and the fox. Is Susan Adair here? No, I didn't see her. All right. Okay. Well, so anybody got anything that we need to talk about before we all go away and have margaritas or whatever we're going to do?
Whatever we do on Friday.
Whatever we do on.
I am here. This is Susan. I am here. I couldn't get to the mute.
Oh,
But,
Oh, okay.
all right. Yay. She's here. Okay, good. Because I wanted to talk to you about your book.
yeah, I didn't really do anything this week. I looked a little bit for a hat, but I haven't found one yet.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because I wanted to kind of see if you'd done anything more to this or, you know, reworked anything. Okay.
No, I really didn't do much with art. I was doing taxes and stuff like that this week, so I'm trying to.
You know,
But I'll do better next week. And I had to leave the class this morning because my daughter showed up, so it was.
Oh. Okay.
But,
You know, hey, you know, this is life. You know, this is what happens. Okay. All right. So I guess, all right. When you get around to working with your hat more, then we'll talk more about hats then. Okay.
okay.
All right. I just want to make sure we had all our bases covered here. Okay. So on that happy note, I guess I don't really have anything more to talk about. How about you guys?
No, that's it.
No? Veronica, you've been awfully quiet.
Uh-oh, where is she?
Yeah.
I'm right here, but no, I don't have anything to say
No?
right now. No.
Come on now. You got to have something back there, you know?
No, I'm busy. I'm trying to get vaccinated, so because everybody else is vaccinated.
Yes, you need to be vaccinated, okay?
Yes, I know.
Did they call you from the Benson Center?
No, they did not.
They did not.
No.
She was probably too young when they made the call.
That's probably what happened, and then our
That is
illustrious governor changed the guidelines again, so that then they need to do a second round of calls.
Right.
Yeah. You know,
A friend of mine did Walgreens, and they got in real quick, and it was very well. You might try Walgreens.
Yeah, I've tried all of those, and since they opened it up to the second round, it's really challenging to get an appointment at this point.
Right.
Because they wouldn't let you in before, and then when they did the second round, everybody went rushing through.
Right.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because all right. So are we still in phase 1, or have we moved into phase 2?
No, we moved into phase 2.
We did. Okay.
We did. So
Okay. So now anybody, what's the age limit?
55 to and above.
Oh, 55 and above.
Does Veronica know that Benson Center is giving out vaccines?
Well, that's what I was asking her about.
I called them, and I'm waiting to get a call back with an appointment.
Okay.
You
Good.
know what, I would call them again. I would call them again.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
My daughters are going to Northside next week.
Yeah.
Northside Hospital.
Well, I just called them this morning, so I'll give them a minute.
Yeah.
And one of the other centers is doing it. I know for sure because Kermit's going to be at one of the other centers next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's
That's where I'm getting mine on Monday.
Yeah, I think Bowden is doing it next week.
Yeah, they're doing it all next week. I'm getting mine on Monday.
Okay, but yeah, definitely, Veronica.
Yes,
Don't give them the benefit of the doubt. You know,
okay,
yeah, be a pain in their neck. Just keep calling until
okay,
somebody answers the phone and gives you an answer. Okay.
okay,
I have an art question for Veronica.
okay.
At one time, you were working on a very horizontal facade of a building.
Oh, yeah, the Fisher Building in Detroit. Yes, I'm still working on that.
Okay.
You know, based on everything that I've observed and learned, I'm getting my values so that you could see the side of the building and the sidewalk.
Mhm.
So what I'll do is I'll do some more this weekend and then send a photograph to Charles for exhibition.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how you do.
Yay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we like that. Okay.
yeah. So, you know, soon I'll be painting out on the porch because, you know, it's screened in so the bugs can't get me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, it's almost getting warm enough. You know, if you put like a light jacket on, you can go out there and hang out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's somewhat set up, so maybe this weekend.
Okay. All right. Look forward to it.
Yeah, me
Okay.
too, because you know. I have another question.
Uh-huh.
Can you, by any chance, send us the second filmed or the name of the second film for the
Yeah.
African American artist?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I still have to send that email out. I was going to send both links to both of them.
Oh, okay, thank you. I think I found the first one and went through that one,
Okay.
and unfortunately, I think his name is Professor Driscoll or Dr. Driscoll.
Yeah,
Yeah, he crossed over in 2020.
Yeah, he did.
And then, so I'd like to see the second half.
Well,
of
now,
that again.
yeah, it's not the same people.
No, it's different.
Yeah, it's related. It's kind of same basic subject, different viewpoint.
Yes.
So, okay.
Oh,
All right.
and Charles,
Yeah.
did you send me those cheap oils for beginners?
Oh, colors. That's right. Yeah, you asked me about that. Okay. So I've got some emails to send as soon as I, break away here. And I'll send you the color list from Benson, and then I'll send out those links. And maybe I'll include it all in one email and send it to everybody so everybody knows.
Okay.
That would be good. Thank you.
That way you all get it. Okay.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, all I can say is I hope everybody has a great weekend.
You too.
Okay.
Make sure you include in that the best thing for staining the oil and painting over the oil and stuff like that.
Include the what?
You know, the thing for cleaning the brushes and the thing for cleaning the brushes and thinning the oil or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean,
whatever else you think I may need.
yeah. Well, you've got a lot of options as far as mediums. And my recommendation is you either use linseed oil or you use a medium called Liquin.
Oh yeah, I've seen both of those. Yeah.
How do you spell that, Charles?
Liquin, Liquin.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Liquin will help thin the oil paint, but at the same time, it also speeds up the drying.
Oh, I like that part.
Yeah. So as a medium, it's got some advantages over it. Linseed oil, if you just add straight linseed oil to your oil paint, it will slow the drying time down.
Okay.
So if you want to do a lot of blending and stuff like that, linseed oil is great. If you want to paint faster, then Liquin is, the way to go. Okay?
Got it.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Going once. Going twice. All right. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah, so you
Have a
guys
good weekend.
have a great weekend. Go out and get in all the trouble you can.
Okay.
You know, have a margarita or something like that. You know, have some fun for goodness sakes. Okay.
Okay.
You know,
Bye-bye.
life
Bye,
is
Al.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Uh,